There he is. There he is. I have to most definitely welcome you first, Mr. Eric, and say thank you so much for being here with us this evening. But most importantly, I have to make sure that I thank and welcome all of our viewers and our listeners out there for another segment here with Home Care Business Advisors, and on a topic that I know is just always hot on everybody's tongue, is marketing. And today we're going to be covering strategic marketing. Eric, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you again so much for the opportunity. And
you are more than welcome. I know that you had to rush here today. And while we are live, I'm going to do a big shout out to Amy. Amy, I miss you too, my love. Eric did pass on the message. So if you're out there looking and you're watching, I just want to say hello and kisses to you as well. Eric, strategic marketing blows your mind, right? There are so many different elements to it, and probably the biggest area of any home care entity. Would you say that's right?
That is 100% correct. I think you use the term strategic marketing, and I think if you look under, if you Google strategic marketing, you're trying to figure out what does that mean between marketing versus strategic marketing. You will find most of the people saying the mindset is out of the box thinking. What are you doing differently with your product, with your service, differently from other people? And that's what strategic marketing is.
Right. And that goes hand in hand. And, again, in talking to our, home care business advisors, family and new owners, we're always talking about, your niche, right? And it goes hand in hand with that. We can't just go out there just like it's another day. It's just another walk in the park. We have to go out there with a mission and with a focus, right? So, I've got questions for you.
Let's do it.
All right. What is your secret sauce, my love, for marketing?
Secret sauce. Oh my gosh. There's no secret. It's really, you're planning out your day. You're figuring out, you're saying, okay, I'm ready. I'm sales and I am doing, in this case, let's say home care, right? And I want to represent and I want to get business. So what you need to do is you're not going to just show up and be like, hey, this is my name. My name's Eric and this is what we do. You need to come up with a solid plan. So you're going to have to do the research, figure out, who your target audience is. It's a key factor. You're not going to go to an individual where they're not going to be that referral source for you in order to get the client or get the patient or get the family member that's going to need your service. So the research is a very, very key element to planning out your day. Do the research, figure out where you need to go, what your target audience is, so that you could actually have that conversation with the right people right off the bat.
Right. And often than not is that we sometimes just look that we've just got to go anywhere, right? And here's my thing. For us to be able to receive that referral or to obtain that client, there has to be a need, right? So maybe, unless that I'm a companion service, why would I, if I want to do personal care, put myself into an arena where there is just, companion care, companion service, or companion need? We want to go where the need is. And unfortunately, in saying, is that we want those people who are sick.
Right. Correct. Those are the kind of people that are going to need the assistance. The home care world obviously is changing drastically from, I would say now, day to day or week to week, as opposed to year to year, as it was in the back years ago. And what we're finding in the industry is there's a greater need for people to age in place, to get all the resources that they can, especially in the home. They need a lot more care than before, for whatever reason, whether it is, debilitating, they had a fall, God forbid, and they had a fracture, or they had a hip replacement, or just overall deconditioning. These are things that are commonly happening on a day-to-day journey in the home care world, where you're going to have that service or that aide or that nurse or whatever it is to provide for each and every single family member or client.
Right, right. So let me move on to this next question. The term sales and marketing, is that a subjective term for what we're trying to achieve here?
I think when you think of sales and marketing, you think of just, the business. You think of, all right, these are the numbers. We need to fill in the numbers and get those numbers and meet our quota. It should be a loose term, honestly, because what we're providing is a service. We're providing peace of mind to a family that is usually in a traumatic event or a crisis. So, yes, we're marketers. Yes, we're going to hospitals or subacute rehabs to find a business. But you're doing more than that. You're marketing your target audience, but you're providing a service and educating people of what that service is. What do you do? What makes you unique versus a home care A, B, and C or D? And those are the timing that you need to have confidence and just have good communication with and conversations with those referral sources to figure out what is best for this patient. I might not be able to help, but you know what? I have my next door neighbor or my friend or a professional colleague that we work well together that you say, you know what? I think this business or this company will work for this particular client.
Right,
and you will see that it's providing the service, and you'll see that comfort level that you have and that even referral to maybe another company goes a long way.
And I can't say enough that, what we're doing, whether you call it sales and marketing, whether you call it, promotions, it doesn't matter. It's all about the relationship. It's all about the relationship. So here I am, Eric, and I have a new agency, and I'm juggling multiple different hats. I'm here, I'm there, I'm all over the place, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I need to hire me an Eric, right? What would you actually say are the attributes of hiring that individual? Again, just bearing in mind that I'm a new startup, right? I'm a new startup. I'm very fresh to the industry. What are those attributes that you'd be looking for, we should be looking for when we're hiring somebody, as well as ensuring that we are getting, an ROI, return on our investment?
Sure. Great question. I ponder this all the time. I remember just going back to when I was hired. And that was really we sometimes these things just kind of fall into our lap. We meet the right person, you have that great personality, and let me have an interview with you. So I would say, obviously being approachable, being clear in your mission, very outspoken. These are key characteristics of a solid marketer for the home care business, just to get started. I would say also, when you're doing the interview process and looking for that key person, they hopefully have done the research on your business. They know exactly your target audience. They may not know exactly what your business model is, but they know the very basics. Be knowledgeable. You're looking for a knowledgeable candidate that will fit that need and that will be able to be your voice for meeting people.
Right.
The owners are usually the ones that started the conversation. They've met the people, and then they're like, you know what, let me build this business, but I can't physically go out and meet and build relationships. And that's what they need to find as far as a marketer, to have that knowledge that when they started, that was kind of passed over to them.
Right.
And kind of grow from there.
So what would you be looking for for that individual, for yourself, Eric, in terms of, you've hired a new marketer, sales and marketing, you've hired that new person. In starting out, what are the benchmarks? What are the boundaries that you're going to be setting for that individual to accomplish as maybe a new person in the industry, right? Not somebody who's seasoned as yourself. It's not their company. What kind of thresholds would you put in place? What would you set for them to achieve? Realistically?
Yeah, definitely realistically. You would need to see I would say the target of where you want to market. And I would say go along with that person to begin with, and then get a good feel of the actual business end of it. Then I would say Yeah, just like as a week or so, just to kind of get him going, and him or her just to kind of get her feet wet and go. And then you can see if, let's say, you do get that referral, see how well they follow up. I'm going to use that word so many times during this because it
Yes.
is beyond important for the follow up. You'll get that person, you'll get that referral, and it kind of just falls through the cracks. You need to follow up. So you set your goal. You say, okay, for this month, I want you to get, let's say, 2 new cases. Maybe you mix it up between, let's say, an hourly and a live-in. And again, relationships, it takes time. It could be a couple months, 3 months, 6 months. But after that time, you already, you, the marketer, knows exactly what needs to happen. You, the business owner, knows exactly what the marketer needs to do to kind of get out there and get the word out. And if it's working, then great, keep it going. Set the goals, set realistic goals with the marketer, and have that open communication ahead of time so that they can succeed.
So let's go back to that statement just very, very quickly. You mentioned about setting those realistic goals, right? And you're saying, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, they should really have their own little groove going. How long is too long? How do we set that time frame? Because again, being impatient owner, I'm going to want to bring me in a 24-hour living in the first week.
Right.
Right.
That's most likely not going to happen.
Well, listen, Eric,
unless you're coming back, right? Unless you are having that experience, or let's say you were a marketer for, let's say, another home care agency where you already have relationships. So going back to your original question of what you're looking for in a marketer, maybe that could be something strategic where you are looking for a candidate that maybe has that experience, let's say, with another home care agency, because they have already the contacts. So all they need to do is, with their new relationship, is explain to them saying, hey, I'm with now company A, B, and C, and this is what we do. And I'm going to be the rep, and I'm going to be the person to get all the referrals. So I would say if it's somebody brand new, not in the industry, but definitely has a very strong sales marketing pitch and more sales marketing history, I would say a year is way too long. I really do. I think that's I think that's way too long in order to get results. 3 to 6 months is usually the time. 9 months is probably like a gray area for home care. I would say that 3 to 6 month window is probably an accurate time. And again, obviously the industry changes every single time. If, let's say, you're opening and starting in the summertime, sometimes the summertime may not be the best time to start. So you as an owner should do a little bit more research in seeing where there are spikes in the need for services, and where there's more of the decline, if you will,
right.
And where the need comes in.
And I know for myself personally, in hiring, I never personally wanted to hire an individual who came from a sales and marketing background. Just my own little gig. I'm saying, I wanted to be authentic, not saying that they're not authentic, but for me, it was more of a case of, somebody who was going to put themselves in that place of, okay, then, I want to form a relationship, as opposed to it was about the numbers. I most definitely believed that you got the better results. Now, after all that being said and done, and some of my past marketers probably are watching this today, they actually turned into a sales and marketing. I'm like, oh my God, look what I've just turned them into.
Right.
But going in, that wasn't my focus. My focus wasn't having somebody who had all of that, because I wanted it to be very authentic, very organic, very natural in terms of, creating those relationships. So that was one of the nuances that I had. And I still do have in terms of, my marketing and outreach efforts. So where do I start? Where does everybody who's watching you today, Eric, where do they start?
I mean, I would joke around and say, you take out a globe, take a dart, and start pointing it, and then hope for the best. But that's not
what we want to hear.
That's definitely not strategic.
Let's go back to question number 1.
Correct. Definitely not. What you would need to do is, going back to my other point, is doing the research. What does that mean? Typically you think of the worst case scenario: mom or dad fell and they go to the hospital. That's your starting point, your hospital. see if you can get. Now, these days, it's obviously a little bit more challenging to get in and build a relationship with the hospital or with case managers. See what you can do, maybe, let's say, just in the ER department, and then kind of work your way internally. But you need to find the right avenue in order to do that research to see exactly where that traumatic event is. Most of the time, it's going to start with a traumatic event of a fall, a break, a decondition, something of that nature will
That's going to
need
require
or
hospitalization.
will, yeah, and that's where you'll have the need for the home care. Now, typically after the hospital stay, 2 days, a week, whatever it is, traditionally they usually go to a subacute rehab where they need physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech, sometimes nursing care. That would probably be my next step in going to those facilities. And they're all over the place, literally all over. And they're renovating now. They're making it a really nice, comfortable living space to get good rehab, but it's
Right.
also in a very safe environment. If the families are getting the calls from the hospital, straight discharge, let's go home, let's go home, let's go home, which does happen automatically.
Sure.
The case managers, a lot of times they don't really know, and they don't get to know the patient that well to know what their home status is. Are they alone?
Sure.
Are there any pets? Are there any stairs? Like all these barriers. Whereas if they go to that traditional, transitional care unit or subacute rehab, then they get a lot more perspective in what the needs are. So that would be my number two, go to subacute rehabs, see what it's like, meet with the discharge planners, meet with the people that will give you those referrals, because those are the ones that work directly with the families. Sometimes it's the admissions person, sometimes it may be the director of nursing, sometimes, or most likely, it'll be the discharge planners or the social workers in those settings. Those are like obviously the two main target audience. And again, just keep on doing the research, see which facility will yield, private pay patients. If your model of a home care business is private pay, then you have to know the demographics. You have to know exactly which facility does what. Also know your area, where you are location wise, where these patients will live. Sometimes it might just be under Medicare and they might not have the funds to be able to pay for home care. This is a very strong consideration with everything.
Right. And again, the flip side of that, because there's always two sides to a pancake. I learned that from Dr. Phil, by the way. There's always two sides to a pancake. And yes, we've got the traditional avenues in terms of, hospital, subacute rehab, and just following through the transitional care path. But there's also those who are out there that are aging in place, right? And they're aging in home. And they don't necessarily have to have that traumatic experience to require the services of ABC agency. So again, trying to sandwich that in from both perspectives and not necessarily just focusing on one, because there's more ways to skin a cat.
That's a great point, by the way. And thank you for reminding me on that, because, you're right. Usually you think of traumatic event, home care. It's like kind of synonymous. But a lot of times, as everybody is aging in place, and nowadays people are in their 70s or 80s and they're thriving. They're doing really, really well. But they may just need that companionship. Then your target audience or your research would maybe just a local coffee shop, or a local business owner or a community. All these different types of avenues where you have that exposure to the elderly that may need that companion service. So thank you for mentioning that. It's a very, very good point.
You are welcome. And you've touched on this, but I am going to ask the question: where, when, why, and who?
Wow, all the W's, right?
Who actually started with a W, so I threw that on the end.
So where would be, like, straight up, it would be either the hospital settings, subacute rehabs, even assisted livings. Nowadays, we're finding that a lot of people are going to need the help as a transition if they're going from their home to the assisted living, much safer environment, and community. Those are like the top 3 or 4 places to market to, or where you're going to be looking for the home care.
Are we not looking at assisted living now? They're also trying to capture on those care levels. I remember back in the day, we would just be getting referrals from assisted living. And then, it was a realization, it was like an aha moment that, oh my God, we're sending all of this money out and all this revenue to Eric over at town. Maybe we should implement, some higher care levels, within our scope of licensing, of course. So then it became a little bit more difficult to get underneath the hood of an assisted living.
It's very interesting. There's a shift in healthcare right now, and I think there are a lot more options than there were years ago, and it's turning into that trend of possibly the assisted living model is working in the sense of that traditional model of care that we're not used to, where usually we just think, all right, go home.
Right.
A lot of times when I strategically market to, let's say, a new assisted living, so they're not up and running yet. They have that trailer in front and they're trying to figure out exactly what. So I usually tell them, hey, listen, we have a wonderful relationship with you. We want to continue that relationship. Right at this moment, mom is at home and it's not a safe environment. So in the meantime, and they also do this as well, they will market, let's say, to another home care agency, say, hey, listen, Eric, I want you to do me a favor. Have your home care with this patient because they need it right now. But knowing that in a couple of months from now, once the building is up, or a year,
they're coming back.
Correct. It's a very interesting way to look at it because, as a business owner, you're going to be losing that patient or that client or that family member to the assisted living. But you're doing more than that. You're actually building a wonderful, strong relationship with the assisted living that they're firmly believing, like, wow, this is a trustworthy individual, that they know that we're going to be working together on everything.
Right.
So it's a very unique opportunity as well.
So the next question is when? When do I go out? When should I start? How often do I go?
You don't want to bombard with too much. I always say, every week or so to check in to see how things are going, because obviously right now everything is very fast paced. You don't want to do it the next day. You don't want to do it every other day. A lot of times it's actually we'll go in the reverse. People will not appreciate it because they also have schedules. They also have time. They're very busy, especially even, let's say, in the subacute rehab realm. Social workers and admissions people are beyond overwhelmed with everything, meeting with families, coordinating services and all that. So I would say if you're able to first meet with them day one, whatever that time is, come in on a Wednesday and just openly just ask them the simple question, what day and time works best for you in a given week? Because they're always overwhelmed. There's always some, but they know their schedule. You know what? Come at 4:00 when it's kind of quiet. That would probably then write it down, make a note to yourself saying, okay, I need to meet so-and-so on this and this day at 4:00, and then ongoing every week or every other week, however you structure your time.
Could be flexible.
Correct. So I think it's really just when you're finally meeting that person, and going back to your question of the who, it's the discharge planners, the director of nursing, the administrators, sometimes the case managers, the GCMs, the geriatric care managers. Anytime you meet any of these individuals, just ask them, say, hey, listen, I wanted to know what time and day would work best for you. When is too much? Just ask them, and they will be more than happy. Don't come Monday. Monday is a crazy day. We have to make up from the weekend. We're going to be overwhelmed. So that when you go, they are not, I don't want to use the word annoyed, but they're not challenged all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, I have to meet with you. And it gets too stressful for everybody.
Right.
Get a right time from them earlier on, and then you can follow up with them.
So the last out of the W's is why.
Why to market, or why to keep on going?
Why to keep on going, and why am I going?
You're going to know the service that you're providing, and you want to get business from them. The reason why you repeat on and over and over to go to these people is you're building a relationship with them. You may not understand that right off the bat, but you must know that you're building this relationship, get to know this person, and get to know exactly what you can do. in order to serve them better on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And that's why you're doing it over and over, so that you get recognition, that they see you, that they know that you're in the field, that you're helping out people, not that all of a sudden you come in and then 2 months later, they're like, oh, by the way, hey, do you have anything for me?
And have an expectation, right?
I
No,
haven't
nobody
seen you
wants
in like
that.
2 months. Exactly.
Yeah.
So as you keep on going, you have to go back and everybody has different mindsets of when to go. I usually say every week or every other week, you just go in and just revisit and see how they're doing, because they'll know from time to time what will change, how many discharges, so on and so forth. So
Well,
important.
I know for you, Eric, I mean, you've been in the field, in the community, sales, marketing, well over 10 years now,
A
right?
long time. I'm going to say now with this company, 11 years.
11 years. Yeah, I was at 10. I thought I knew you was like around there somewhere. I know that you absolutely thrive on what you do, for multiple reasons. Number one, the ability to help another person at their time of need. I know that's your DNA through and through. Number two is just you're a people's person, right?
Thank you.
And number three, is about bringing, you're now challenged with bringing all of these different moving parts into a very controlled and productive process, if that makes sense, right? And I won't say that you like the kill. It's not about the kill. It's about the seaming it together and everybody is happy. So I most definitely say that, and the reason where I'm going with that is that to have those attributes that you need to want to help somebody. First of all, you've got to believe in what you're doing and what you stand for, what your company stands for, right? So we don't just want to have anybody come in just because they was available at the time. It has to have some kind of meaning. Did I hit the nail on the head as it comes to you? Because again, you're in that field and you just flourish. I can't even keep up with you.
Right. It's literally, you're right, spot on. Literally, it's the need of the home care for each and every single patient, but you as the person to know that they will go above and beyond. And I know myself, I know you, I know many other people that will literally go above and beyond the call of duty.
Yes.
Not just that 9 to 5, 8 to 4 type of a setup. It's literally working weekends and being on call and trying to help out patients when it's very crucial, because honestly, the patients and the families are depending on you. You may not know it as a marketer because you're like, I just do the sales and marketing and I have another team behind you. But you're the person that they will speak to probably in the very beginning before they even sign on. And right off the bat, the families will appreciate your support during their time of need when they need it most. So you definitely, the empathy, you need to be helpful, you need to be resourceful, and then very hands-on in case there is a great need.
Absolutely. And before we end, Eric, there's another side that I just also want to just have you, because again, I know that you are very entrenched in this area of marketing, but aside from just going to the traditional assisted livings and, the community outreach, GCMs, etc., I know that you always are very, very focused on getting out there to community events, whether it be a healthcare conference or whether it be a CEU event. That is equally as important, right?
It's a great point. Again, I mean, it's you're doing marketing essentially. Yeah. You are doing marketing. You may not be doing that traditional marketing of meeting the referral sources, but you may meet them at these community events. You may meet them in out between the communities or conferences or any other outside of your normal day-to-day operation. It's super, super important. I mean, I was literally earlier today, I was at a networking event. These are phenomenal events. Now, you're going to meet a ton of people in the industry. You're going to see who's out there, what they're doing, what makes them unique, and you work with them and you kind of understand, but you're also marketing yourself and you're marketing your company while you're doing that. They ask you, where are you from? Oh, I'm Eric from town. I'm representing town. This is what we do. You're constantly meeting all these healthcare individuals that you may not even have known existed or may not have the opportunity to meet. And all of a sudden you may have struck gold at this
Right.
one networking event or one conference. So it's equally as important, sometimes even a little bit more important, just to get your feet wet and see exactly who's out there and what events are out there, what you can get involved with. But be involved. Getting involved on
Absolutely.
a daily basis.
Absolutely. Connecting those dots, guys, connecting those dots, because there are so many different moving parts. Connect them, because that person that you met over at the community event is now going to see somebody else somewhere else who said, oh, yes, I saw Eric over at the facility event. It's going to come into play, but you've got to play the game, right?
Correct.
You've got to play the game. Eric, as always, spot on, very accurate, very clear, very precise. You know what I'm going to say now.
Go for it. Let's do it.
What is your final remarks for
Final remarks?
final remarks?
You always ask me this. It's a very
Change it up this time, Eric.
It was a very interesting when you first reached out and you said, all right, we're going to talk about strategic marketing. And when I mentioned earlier, like strategic marketing is really, out of box thinking. What can you do that's going to separate? What's going to make you unique? What's going to be different about you or the company or the service that you provide than, so-and-so. It was interesting. I was watching a video. This goes back years ago with trying to remember Steve Jobs. I'm sorry, I don't even know why I had a mental block. And he had a very interesting perspective, and he was trying to redo the marketing for Apple at the time. And he was saying, he's like, there's so many companies out there and competitors and all that. Even in the shoe market, you think of Nike. What do you think of when you hear Nike? You think of the shoe, but all of their marketing strategies, they're not talking about the shoe, why our shoe is better than this other shoe from Reebok or Adidas. Their marketing strategy is they are unique in basically focusing on great athletes that happen to wear their shoes. And I think the takeaway message with home care is exactly the same thing. We're living in a very challenging time, especially getting the staff, getting the aides. Show appreciation to the relationships that you build. Show appreciations to your employees, your staffing coordinators, your recruiters. I know it's like completely different marketing strategies. Yeah. This will definitely help your business because they will work harder for you. They will do so much more and go above and beyond just to show that appreciation. Yeah, you have a marketer that will go to facility A, B, and C, and you'll go and you'll check in with them and all that. But really to focus in on your structure and the foundation of your company, your employees are the ones that will be doing the revenue. I think that's a very important strategic marketing strategy.
Absolutely. You've got to make sure that foundation is solid. The foundation, like Eric said, could be your staffing coordinator, could be your office manager, could be the person that handles the billing, because what they do allows you, Eric, to do what you do on the front. So, it comes together as equally yoked, that you can bring in the business, but you're also going to need them to support you in the day-to-day things as well. So a great closing statement. Mm-hmm. And like I said, every time we close out, Eric, I'm going to want to have that thought from you.
It's my pleasure. Now I have to do the research in case we do it again.
Absolutely.
Or not in case, when we do it again.
When we do it again. We're going to get a little bit more in depth into some of these areas the next time, as opposed to it being very, very broad and and overall. We're going to get into some very deep areas. I know you wanted to talk about, COVID in home care. I know that it has, changed the parameters of your agency during that peak, and now it's tethering off for a little bit. We want to talk a little bit more about that and how we recalibrate and adjust. So there are some topics that we most definitely are going to get together on. But in the meantime, Eric, I thank you so very much for being here with us today. I know that you've also got another meeting to go on to, and again, past the normal and typical 9 to 5. But in closing, to everybody who is out there, who is listening, who is watching, who will hear about this maybe at another time, I also just want to make sure we have that announcement to say that Home Care Biz Advisors is having its first annual home care conference on June 28th in Florence, South Carolina. If you have not stepped over to our Facebook page, please do so. Check out the information for all new home care owners. We are there. We are going to be there, saddled with professionals, information, resources, and vendors, a marketing segment, a recruitment segment. So for those of you who have not seen that, head over to our Facebook page, check us out. If you have any further information or questions for us, please just shoot us an email at info@homecarebusinessadvisors.com. I thank you, Eric. I salute you, sir.
Thank you so much for the opportunity again.
Take care.
Appreciate it.